You're watching HCAM TV. Hello, everybody, and welcome in to the Hopkinton Hangout Hour. I'm HCAM News Director Tom Nappy, and joining me today we have Mike Terosian will co-host with me, and momentarily we're going to have Jared Keene from the Metrowest Daily News, and we'll be talking some sports. There's actually some movement in the sports world, folks, and it's quite amazing. Jared is just joining us now. Jared,
I can't believe we have sports to talk about.
I know. It's terrific. Well, hopefully they'll get played. That's the big question. Are they actually going to happen? There's hope, but
there is hope. It's not going to be the most exciting thing, and I can see season ticket holders not having too much fun. But
right, Jared, how are you?
What's up, Tom? How you doing? Thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the show.
Definitely.
So we actually got some movement in the sports world, huh?
A little bit.
So hopefully we'll see some Major League Baseball very soon. They're supposed to head down to spring training July 1st.
Yep.
But, of course, still some bumps in the way. And I have some information that I got from an article from Jeff Passan of ESPN. Here's some of the details about the expected Major League Baseball season. League personnel, team officials, and players are readying for a deluge of positives, and they are going to be getting tested for COVID-19 as well as antibody testing.
Yep.
Nearly 1,800 players are expected to report to camps, but the problem is a large number of those players live in places like Arizona, Florida, Texas, and California, which, of course, has had a surge of COVID-19 cases lately. And then you have others that are flying from other countries around the world. So I think it's certainly going to be a tall task to keep all the MLB players healthy, with a number of players coming in from various locations that may have spikes with COVID-19. At the screening, players will submit saliva for the PCR test and blood for the antibody test. COVID positive players could number 25, 50, 100 or more. Those who do test positive via the PCR test will immediately isolate until they fulfill certain measures, which includes 2 negative COVID-19 tests taken at least 24 hours apart, no fever for at least 72 hours, no respiratory systems, as judged by a doctor or the team medical staff, team physician, and a joint committee consisting of 2 doctors and 1 non-medical representative from MLB and the Major League Baseball Players Association deem that the person does not pose a risk of spreading the infection. And they, of course, must satisfy local health requirements and a cardiac evaluation. So a lot of bumps in the way of this plan.
How's any baseball going to happen? They can't even play when they get a hangnail. Come on, this is going to be too much.
Well, from what I've seen, baseball has taken more, I guess, I don't want to say steps, but they've acted quicker, I guess, than the other leagues. So here's just a little bit about the proposed format for the 60-game season it will be. There's going to be a universal DH, and it's a shortened season. So the proposed schedule will be teams from the division and also teams from the corresponding division in the other leagues. So for the Red Sox case, they'll be playing against AL East teams and NL East teams, with most games being against AL East teams. I do love the universal DH. I think that's great.
Oh, that's long overdue. And I thought, wasn't National League supposed to try that within the next couple of years anyways?
Yeah, it's been talked about. It was never ruled in yet, but it's been talked about quite a bit.
I mean,
I'm with you guys on that.
Yeah, I always loved the World Series when we're playing in the National League parks and you got to see the pitchers actually bat. It's still one of my favorite of all times. When Red Sox versus the Reds, seeing Louis Tiant get up there and try to swing the bat and try to run to first. It was one of the most amazing times of my life.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's interesting to see the pitchers get out there and try to bat. It usually doesn't go well, but every once in a while, you'll see a pitcher get a nice hit.
Oh yeah.
I remember there was one time. I think Pedro Martinez got a hit one time, and he never got a hit. He was one of the worst hitters ever.
It's just pure awkwardness. It's almost like me getting up to bat against Clemens, and I'd be just as intimidated.
So
some pitchers are actually pretty decent at the plate, though. Some guys actually can actually rip the ball a little bit, and aren't afraid to poke it around.
Sure, they practice in college, they practice in the minors.
Yep.
So I mean, it's the ones once they get to the big leagues, it's like, all right, that stops, and it's like pitchers are in their own world when it comes to workout. They got their own thing, and you very rarely see them with the rest of the team.
One of the pitchers that I can recall being pretty good at the plate was Bronson Arroyo.
Yes.
Well, yeah, he was one of those guys. He was actually one of those players.
Right. But I think the universal DH is good because obviously it's going to be more entertaining hitters, I think.
Oh, definitely.
And you add players to the roster. And I just think it's such a downer when you got a starting pitcher who's pitching really well. It's the sixth inning, but it's his turn to come up to bat. You have to take him out of the game because it's a close game. And you don't want that guy at the plate because more likely than not, he's going to be an easy out.
Yep.
So we won't have that this year.
Now, what are they doing for stadiums? Are they still going to do a few stadiums on each coast and work minor leagues? What are they doing?
Well, there's an issue with their stadium plan.
Yeah, that's what I want to talk about.
So training camps for all teams will begin on July 1st and will last 2 weeks. Teams will host training camp in their own cities rather than traveling to Florida and Arizona, which have both seen recent spikes in COVID-19 cases. I think the original plan was to actually have them travel to Florida and Arizona, but that's not going to work out anymore.
Definitely not.
No, they opened way too soon.
No way.
Too soon.
So the Red Sox will be playing exhibition games starting July 1st at Fenway Park. But the problem is, I believe a city like Toronto has pretty much banned all sporting events, if I'm not mistaken. And I believe there's some cities in California that have done the same. So what are they going to do in that case?
Yeah. Well, that's tough. I mean, when it's interesting because you look at a city like Toronto, could be perfect for something like this. But, if that's kind of a no-go, how do you kind of dodge around that when, again, a lot of these other states and cities are also going to be a no-go in, some of these bigger areas where, you can host more teams and, kind of that are more kind of open to kind of doing this kind of stuff. But obviously, again, like we talked about, California, Florida, Texas, Arizona, places like that seeing, ridiculous spikes right now. So It's kind of, I think this is, kind of touching on the bigger issue. I think, again, I was even kind of surprised that a 60-game season was even agreed upon, because of the fact that I think they still knew that there were going to be some issues. It's almost inevitable that people are going to test positive for this, and then something's going to come up during the season. It's like, oh, do you get halfway through a 60-game season, then decide to cancel it because there's too many issues? Right. It's kind of, yeah.
I think I think the only team that was really happy about it was the Mets. because this right here, they won't lose more than 60 games this year.
Yeah.
You never. Well, they could lose 60. You never know.
No, they can't lose more than 60.
No, definitely not. You look at a team like the Dodgers, though. The Dodgers are probably pretty unhappy. I mean, you go out and you get Mookie Betts, and and you make some of these moves, and you probably look to be, doing big things this year, and you're kind of like, nope,
Right.
Well, here's the thing too: is you're not going to be in the ball field. I'm sure they'll be selling some tickets and some of the private booths and all the. You're going to have some fans in there. You see it, but the action around the stadium, I can see that being filled up just like any game day with all the venues. And then you have all the venues now opening up because indoor dining is allowed. And by the time the season starts, we should be into the open bar phase. What's that, phase 4? So we should be into that. So, but you still get the crowds gathering. And, I'm not going to go to a game, obviously, even if I could. But I'm going to hit the local bar, and that's where everyone's going to gather. Are we going to see the numbers start going up, and then they say, hey, wait a second, we got to stop doing this? And does the rest of the state suffer because of it?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen anything about fans yet. I guess one of the good things about baseball is most of the stadiums are outside. So obviously it's better outside than inside as far as contagiousness, if you will. But I wonder if there'll even be fans. I don't know. And if there is,
I doubt it.
No, they're still talking no fans.
Even if it's outside, you're going to have fans sitting next to each other. In some cases, you'd have to socially distance the fans. 6 feet apart or something.
And I was just watching somebody. Yeah, I was just watching soccer, and that's how they did it. They had very few in the stands, and they were so far apart. No one sat next to each other. And but you could count the fans as they went up and down the pitch.
Right.
So, and I'm sure those are the specialties. I'm sure maybe they're the families, maybe they're
right.
Something to do with the venue. But you're not gonna. But they got to gather somewhere, and whether we go to Tom's house for a barbecue to watch a game, or we're going to Sorrento or Cornell's or Tradesman to watch it with friends, there's still going to be that gathering. And when all this starts happening, it gives us something to watch. That's where the numbers are going to rise. Now, granted, Florida and Arizona, open up your beaches, open up your parks and whatever. And now look what happened. They just went too soon. I think, I think sports could slow down the rest of the Commonwealth in opening things. That's my thing.
It could slow down the rest of the country in opening things when you think about it.
Well, yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, I was on a beach last weekend. It was beautiful out. Nice day at the beach.
I also was on a beach last weekend.
I felt kind of airy though, because there was a lot of people, and I'm like, all right, I got to find a space on the beach that's not too close to a bunch of people. And fortunately, I found one. But obviously, on some beaches, you might not have that option.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then you find that spot. Then how soon before the people start coming towards you? It's like, really? Did you set up a snow fence around yourself to keep the people away?
It's a pretty good idea.
Well, yeah, you got to do something.
So just some more details. The regular season is set to begin July 23rd and the 24th. It's expected to run until September 27th, with the postseason beginning September 29th and running till the end of October. MLB trade deadline will be August 31st. And the playoff format is going to remain 10 teams. They talked about 16, but they're keeping it at 10.
Yeah, keep it at 10, which is good.
So a nice mini season, and I love the extra innings rule. Each inning after the ninth will start with a runner on second base.
Yes.
The runner will be the batter in the lineup immediately.
I like that.
Proceeding innings leadoff hitter.
We used to do that in Little League. We used to do that in Little League when I coached.
Here's a question, though, guys. Before we even talk about any of this, do either of you both actually think that we're going to get a full 60-game season in? Or do you think like halfway through it could be like, oh, there's too many COVID cases, or, this goes down, and it's like, no, let's just scrap the season.
We'll just
I'm kind of, because it's almost inevitable that we're going to run into some issues during the season.
Right. If they're not going to limit these to your 4 or 6 states to have all these games in, which, you might as well, because if you're not letting any fans go, who cares where you play? It's like having a concert venue that you're going to just broadcast on television. Yeah, just having the same studio all the time. Why be at different studios? So I think that if they're allowing venues to, all the ballparks to open up, I think you're going to have the local venues. I mean, look at what Kowloon did up in Saugus. They turned this into a drive-in, movie night or whatever. It's just supposed to be outside dining, and here they are having entertainment. that's going to draw people. Wait a second. You're supposed to go there and dine. You get an hour and a half in and get out. Now you're going to stay and watch a movie or whatever. Now you're there 3 hours.
Well, I guess as long as they're socially distanced, right?
Well, that's yeah. But my point is, I think you're still going to have the gatherings. Jared's point, I think locally, as the numbers rise, you're going to see governors saying, all right, that's it, you're done. Now, all right, so Baker, who I think is doing a great job, but he is on the cautious side. And I think if he sees the numbers go and he says, all right, Red Sox, you're done. Where are they going to go? Back to Florida? Are they going to play in New York?
You're going to go down to Pawtucket.
Yeah.
Might as well go down to Florida.
Might as well. Pawtucket's not going to be used after this year anyway. So.
But I think that's where a lot of the minor league guys could come in. If you have a few players on a team testing positive, call up some of the AAA guys. I mean, as long as it's not too many, of course.
And the big shame of it too is, let's forget about the real baseball. We're going to lose the Little League World Series. We're going to lose the Cape Cod League is already washed for the season. All the real and I call that real baseball because, number one, it's timely. Now, here's the big question. All right, no fans, television broadcast, and so forth, 60 games. How much time do you think this baseball game is going to last? A 9-inning game?
Well, I mean, if you go by the typical standard, it would be about 3 hours. But
3.5 hours, right?
They are making rules to speed them up. They did implement the new three batter minimum. So each relief pitcher must face at least 3 hitters. Love that rule. And that was a rule that's been implemented permanently. And then another rule that I guess kind of makes sense. Pitchers can use a wet rag to keep their fingers moist in lieu of licking their fingers. But I think one of the things they should do is what they did at the minor league system the past couple of years, get that clock going between pitches.
Yes.
Yep.
And I think they gave like a minute to throw the pitch. And hold them to it. If they don't throw the pitch in a minute, it's an automatic ball.
Well, what was it last year when Major League Baseball did that? Well, they didn't put the clock in, but
minor league baseball did it last year.
Minor, yeah.
And what they saved, 12 minutes a game?
I mean, minor league games in general go a lot quicker.
Of course they do, because they want to get in, get out, and no one's getting real money. But television, you mentioned all these things to speed up the game. No one mentioned anything about the television breaks. All right, guys, let's cut down some of the money you're making from TV to make the game go faster. I love watching a game on television. I really, really do. You get the best seat, you get all the replays, you see everything, but it just takes so long, and these commercial breaks are just terrible.
Yeah, I mean, they do the commercial breaks between each half inning during pitching changes. What I think the problem is they expand some of the commercial breaks longer than they need to be for advertising purposes to get that ad revenue. So if they cut down on that and just hold tight to the minute between each half inning rather than 2 minutes in some cases.
Boom. Yeah. That speed things up for sure.
I mean, everyone knows how many officials are on a football field, how many officials are on a baseball field, but no one ever sees the official that is standing there off to the side telling the umpire, the head umpire, hold on, wait a minute. Okay, commercial's over, go. That guy. It's like they need to speed that whole process.
Mike, getting back to your point, I think, or getting back to your initial question, I think if they do, kind of take all these, do all these things to kind of speed the game up a little bit, I think, realistically, maybe you could see some games going 2 to 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
That's I think that'd be my guess. I don't know if you're going to see many under 2 hours. Maybe you could still see a game under 2 hours, depending on pitching or whatever, and kind of how fast it goes. But I would guess probably around maybe between 2 and 2.5 hours or so.
Jared, how many high school games do you go to that's only 7 innings? And when you're there 2 hours, you're like, oh my God, will this thing end? 2 hours is enough for baseball. I'm sorry. You want to stay there for all day? Go watch cricket. Go right in Ashland. over to the Warren Center. They got a nice cricket field over the weekends. You get to see cricket.
And then sometimes you got games, sometimes you got local games. I think it was I think it was the Bay State Conference that was doing it for, 9-inning games.
Yeah.
Come on, enough with the 9-inning games.
Little League World Series, when it's broadcast on television, you can see 3.5 games of real baseball to one Major League Baseball game. It's awesome. I mean, that ball is thrown right back to the pitcher, and boom. None of this. Oh, let's adjust my glove there, Gaspar and
all right,
everybody else. It's like cut it out.
That's why they need the pitch clock. They need to implement it and hold them to it. And I think that's why baseball has lost some appeal over the years, is because these games are taking so long. I mean,
definitely.
How long does a Red Sox-Yankees game typically take? 3.5, 4 hours?
Right, and that's without a bench clearing. But when they added the replay to everything too, that didn't help. That was like, right. I mean, that should be over with instantly. You leave the umpire off the field, and by the time the umpire walks over to get the headset, that decision should be made. You don't need to watch it for 5 commercials and then come up with a decision. Yeah,
well, they should have somebody already reviewing it at the command center or something like
exactly.
that.
That's why when home plate ump comes to the side to get the headsets, that decision should be made by the time he walks over there. I mean, how many times you got to look at something? You got 7 different angles, and come on.
Right. Tom, it's interesting that you made the point about kind of how baseball has lost its appeal a bit. I actually remember doing a story a number of years ago. I can't remember exactly what year, but kind of on how baseball was kind of phasing out because it was moving too slow. And I remember one of the people I remember talking to about that was Josh Hanna, who I'm sure you guys both know.
Oh, yeah.
Back when he was at Natick, he used to coach baseball at Natick. And it's interesting because you obviously look at baseball being such a classic sport and everything, but obviously the appeal kind of deciding to play like lacrosse or something. Lacrosse is obviously a sport that's moved at a much faster pace, and I think that's appealing to kind of the newer generation nowadays. They want bam, bam, bam. They want speed, fast, let's go.
Right.
So,
yeah, I mean, it's a big commitment when you're asking a fan to sit there for 162 games, 3 hours, sometimes more a night. A lot of times it was more. I think games last year were averaging, 3 hours and 9 minutes or something like that. Yep. That's crazy. That's a lot of time you have to commit to the sport. And, life moves pretty quick now. People are busy. You don't have all that time to commit to the sport, So, you need a more fast pace. And
Jared, you're absolutely right on that, because when lacrosse finally came to Hopkinton, all 3 of my kids left soccer, softball, and baseball
to play lacrosse.
And, my 2 girls, they got scholarships to be goalies at their schools, which, much better than they were. Because my oldest daughter hated all the softball because of all the cheering they do in between, all the little. I mean, it's worse.
Softball moves rapidly fast.
Softball, I like softball. Softball, I'm game with any day of the week.
Sure. Those games could be as little as an hour long.
A little over an hour, yeah. I mean, depending on, if you get a team that mercies another team, puts together a couple of big innings, and then boom, you got a game that's done in an hour and 15 minutes.
I love a catcher who throws a ball back to the pitcher as fast as it's pitched.
Right. And real quickly, we just have a few minutes left, I do want to get into some of the Legion notes.
Oh, yes.
The Legion teams in the area.
So I also want to touch on some golf a little bit, real quick, but we'll get into we'll do some Legion first, but I want to touch on some PGA Tour stuff as well.
All right. We'll give you a couple minutes for golf. Ashland and Natick Legion, they're going to be playing with mostly Zone 6 teams in the Massachusetts Independent Baseball League. The first regular season games are scheduled for July 6th. Ashland, they take on Natick in what was supposed to be a home game, but they love playing in Natick on July 15th. I believe they'll be the home team for that one. And then their first actual home game is July 16th versus Canton. They are still trying to find a facility. They're working with Ashland Middle School. Hopkinton's been talked about, Holliston, so we'll see where that goes. It's a 16-game season, and there is a playoff system as well. And it looks like a very competitive zone. I'm excited for that. I don't know if you've seen anything about that Massachusetts Independent Baseball League, Jared, but that looks very competitive.
I'm very excited for this, Tom. I think Franklin is in that league as well, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of TVL competition. You got Westwood in there, Norwood, Dedham.
Yep.
And
definitely
then
some TVL. I'm excited for this, though, and I think obviously a lot of the players and coaches are as well. I mean, certainly somebody like Jake Obed, the manager of Ashland Post 77. I know he's really fired up for this and really ready to go, and I'm sure some of his guys are as well. Dom Kavanaugh.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm very excited for this. I think this is going to be a great opportunity, and it's just good for I'm happy for the players, and I'm happy for the guys that get to coach them,
right.
and to actually have a season, to actually be able to do something,
And I'm happy for baseball coming back to Hopkinton television.
Absolutely. And it was so tough for these kids, especially the seniors that didn't get to play their spring season, but they get to come out in the summer and play with their Legion team in Ashland. They had a great run last year. They have a stacked roster this year. The roster looks really good. So I really think it's going to be a fun run in a very competitive league, definitely more competitive than Zone 5 typically is. I can tell you that. Yeah. Zone 6 is strong. And then as far as another local Legion team, Milford Post 77, they're going to be playing in the Worcester County Baseball League. Mostly Zone 4 teams in that one.
Milford Post 59.
59, yeah.
59, excuse me. I'm thinking of Ashland Post 77.
We know what you meant.
By the way, Ashland's going to be called the Ashland Sevens this year. You can't have the Post or the Legion title.
The Sevens.
So it's going to be the Ashland Sevens. I don't know what Milford's going to be called. But Milford, they're playing in the Worcester County Baseball League 15-game regular season, and on the weekend they'll play outside of the zone and have some mini tournaments. So that should be interesting. But they also have some location difficulties. Mm-hmm. They're hoping to use Holy Cross, which a few of the Worcester teams typically use, but I guess their facilities aren't going to be open from what I've heard. So we'll see where that goes. But it's exciting to have summer baseball back. As far as if they'll have fans or anything like that, I have no idea. But it should be fun watching these kids play this summer.
Definitely.
All right,
couldn't agree more.
My excitement's over. Let's talk golf.
All right.
Well, you guys talk amongst yourselves.
We'll certainly keep you updated on the HCAM website of games we'll be at. But Jared, what do you got for PGA?
I just think it's interesting. Obviously they got the tournaments going on and everything, and this weekend they're down in Connecticut, the Travelers Championship. But, you look at even a sport like golf, which could be, potentially be like the most, quote unquote, socially distanced sport, still having issues with guys backing out of tournaments because of, testing positive, or their caddy testing positive, or somebody in their family testing positive. I think it kind of goes to show that, again, even a very socially distanced sport like golf, where, you don't necessarily have to have fans, and you can kind of keep your distance from others and stuff, that you're still going to run into some issues. Brooks Koepka, obviously one of the best players in the world, is not even at the Travelers this weekend because of COVID.
See, I think in any situation, though, any sports situation, you're going to get this. You're going to get players that can't play because someone in their family or themselves tested positive. They have to drop out. But I think at this point, it's just something that you have to deal with if you want to try to play. Obviously, if there's an overwhelming amount of players or league personnel that test positive and it's a danger to play, that's when I think you'll see seasons get canceled. But I'll get your guys' take real quick on this. I just think unless it's overwhelming, you just try to play through it. What do you guys think?
I don't see why you wouldn't play through it.
Yeah, I mean, I think generally, you probably try to play through it. But again, I think you do have to be somewhat cautious about, what could happen and what can happen, and obviously what is happening. But I mean, I think for the most part, I agree with you guys.
Just sanitize those clubs and baseball bats and follow the social distancing guidelines, and hopefully we'll have some completed sports seasons. But obviously, like everything else this year, it's going to be a wait and see kind of thing.
Yep.
But guys, that's all the time we got. We have to transition over to our next segment. Jared, thanks so much for joining us once again on the show. I'm sure we'll do it again. And hopefully we'll have some actual games to talk about in a few short weeks.
Absolutely.
Mike,
thanks for having me on, guys. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for letting me join you. That was a lot of fun as always.
Great stuff, guys.
We're going to send it over to Matt Clark, who's going to let us know what's coming up. And then we have Andrew Cozzens on to talk about some local wildlife. So thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned for the second segment, everybody.
Thanks, Tom. Real quick, obviously, we have the Friday night wake-up call coming up tonight at 7 with Cheryl Peralt. On Sunday, we have the Combined Christian Service. And then on Monday, we're actually going to be we're going to have Brooks Farrar on the show at 2 in the afternoon. And then we're going to be covering the election night results at 8 p.m. as well.
Excellent. Thanks, Matt. And stick around to get the pictures to show us, too.
Absolutely.
For this half hour, we're going to be looking at pictures taken by my son and my daughter and by local people who are submitting them on our Facebook page. And of course, our show favorite, John Ritz, who sent in several really good pictures. So welcome to the show, Andrew.
Hi, thank you. So before we start, I did want to make a quick correction for last week. When I referred to Waseca as a lake, it turns out to actually be a pond. So don't want anybody to be confused by that.
How could you be confused? Because it's called Lake Waseca.
I know. It's shocking.
Thanks. All right.
I think we can forgive you on that one.
Thank you.
We start off with a couple of your shots. Maybe.
Yeah. Absolutely. Let me get something open for you.
I love this because it shows an abundance of wildlife right in our own backyards. This whole area is crazy, full of different wildlife.
All right. And this is one example of wildlife that we have in our own backyard. This is a cardinal, which, as we focus in on him, you can see he's actually starting to molt. And he's losing some of his feathers, which will eventually regrow. Mainly because the breeding season is pretty tough on feathers. You have to grow really colorful ones to attract females. And then eventually, as you're raising your chicks, you're searching for a lot more food. So at the end of the breeding season, they tend to.
Interesting story about cardinals. My mother was telling me that in her backyard, they have a pair, a male and a female, and they will go to the feeder together, and the male will feed the female. You'll take a seed out of the feeder and then put it right in the female's mouth.
That is super cute. They are cute birds.
I was like, take a picture. So she's working on it. And when she does, she'll get it to us.
All right, awesome.
Mentioning that those birds mate for life, right?
I don't know, but I guess they do.
Yes, that's what she's saying that she had heard. So I thought that was really cute that they do.
Yeah,
I have heard that as well.
That's pretty awesome.
Okay.
All right, on to the next one. This is the osprey nest again. And in this picture, you can kind of just barely see one of the chicks.
Oh, wow.
Wandering around in the nest. So, yeah, they grow up pretty fast. And in a couple months, they'll be flying around themselves.
Wow.
Yeah, so if anyone wants to visit Waseca, which again is a pond, you can do that and see the chicks there.
All right. So if you can stop sharing now.
All right.
Matt, who actually put the call out on social media?
I did.
You did. Okay. So you got a pretty decent response.
Yeah, I did. I was very happy with the response. So 1 second, I should have had this ready, but
me too. It's really great. Last week we did the graduation advice and we did the what makes you happy, and we get good responses from that too. It's really nice to see that.
Yep. So we got a few video pictures from town and also a video. So submitted by Michelle Murdoch. We have 2 white-tailed deer here. Michelle also submitted a picture of an opossum, but I chose to leave that one out because there's a good chance it was dead.
Yes.
So I didn't want to.
It can be hard to tell with the possums whether they're really dead or just pretending, but
yes. But I figured just for the lack of morbidity, I would.
That is fair.
Mike Tarosian sent us this picture of a cottontail in his yard.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yep, we obviously have those everywhere. I've been seeing babies so much in the last couple of weeks in my yard.
Oh yeah,
I love them. Yeah. And then what was that, Jim?
We had a dog, and there were some rabbits in our yard, and my dog looked at it, and then he started running, and I'm thinking, oh no. And the rabbit was sitting there, and the dog kept running, and the rabbit's just sitting there, and I'm thinking, this is it. This is the end for the rabbit. And when the dog got about like 5 or 6 feet away, poof, it was gone.
Yep.
Like, whoa, wasn't there a rabbit here a second ago?
Yeah, they really move so fast.
Yeah.
And then Tom Nappy also submitted a few pictures. Here we have another rabbit in his yard. He submitted this picture of a bird. He said this was a blue jay, but we kind of agreed before the show that this doesn't really look like a blue jay. It's kind of hard. Andrew, do you have any idea of what type of bird this might be?
I don't know. I feel like maybe a catbird.
Yeah.
It's a little hard to tell, but
yeah, it is really hard to tell.
I was going to say catbird too, so I'm pretty good at this.
All right, catbird it is then.
And then also, it's hard to tell because I had to zoom this in a little bit. But these are woodchucks.
Oh, those are great animals.
Are those in your yard?
These are also Tom's. I would presume they're also from his yard.
I hope he doesn't have a garden.
Yeah, my grandfather has problems with woodchucks. He lives down in Woodville, so. And then submitted by Maura Conley Stanley, we have these two pictures of a Baltimore Oriole, which you can see they put out oranges, which Orioles love to eat. So they were specifically trying to capture Orioles. But what I didn't notice until just before I was getting ready to present this, I didn't notice this blue bird up in the corner. I'm actually unfamiliar. Andrew, do you know?
That is a male indigo bunting.
Oh, that's cool.
I've never actually seen one, but I'm trying to attract one because they are beautiful.
It's just that thing. I mean, in real life, look at the color on that.
Yeah.
You know?
It is amazing.
The ancient Egyptians trying to get that color blue. I mean, that would be so expensive.
Yeah. I mean, maybe this is just a robin and a sparrow that were photoshopped.
Yeah, maybe. The color is so bright. It does seem
it's amazing.
Sometimes. Like the orange is the same color as the oranges next to it.
Yeah. No.
And then that's the last one I have there. So
and the pictures are nice and the pictures are amazing, but when you see them in real life, I mean,
yeah,
are just so vibrant. They're just so rich and saturated. And to just imagine that that's not something that somebody made. It's just it just exists that way. Why would there be so many different colors in nature?
I know, it's amazing.
It's incredible. And if I could have just a few more seconds, there is one video someone submitted. Yeah, just real quick. Hold on 1 second. This was video submitted by Patricia Alta Desiral. I hope I pronounced that correctly, and if I did not, I apologize. But you can see that, I believe, is an eastern bluebird.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, you can tell because of the orange on their bellies.
Yep.
Yes. Yep.
That is one of my grandmother's favorite birds.
They're beautiful.
She said you only recently started seeing them around town within the last 10 years or so.
No, it's so interesting. I had not seen one before, and we moved to a new house across town. And do you remember? Did you see this, Andrew? And within the first day or two, there was a bush in the backyard, and I opened up the door and I looked, and that bush had about a dozen of those.
Oh, birds. I do remember that. Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't even know what they were. I'd only ever seen blue jays. It was just really stunning. And then I never saw that many. All right.
All right.
All right. So let's see a couple more of yours, Andrew.
Sure. I think I'm gonna show some of my sister Noah's pictures, because she's taken some really good ones. I do want to point out, if you notice her pictures are a better quality than mine, it's because she went to art school. I didn't have to go to art school, but she did. So, but yeah, they're really good pictures. This is a blue jay popping down a piece of suet that it stole from my woodpecker feeder. But another beautiful bluebird that we have around here, which really likes peanuts, I'm noticing.
Really?
Yep. Yeah, they're pretty fond of peanuts. And this is another bird that's trying to steal from my woodpecker feeder without being a woodpecker. This is a catbird. And you can see here, it's not really, catbirds aren't designed to cling onto trees in the same way that woodpeckers and nuthatches do. So this guy's trying to stabilize himself with his wings. Every couple of seconds, the catbird will flap its wings to try to stay on there.
Must be really, really appetizing, huh?
Apparently so. I've seen catbirds jump off the edge of the shed trying to get to the feeder and just falling the entire way, falling right past the feeder onto the ground. But that hasn't discouraged them at all, apparently.
And tell them what they put into suet.
This suet, like many suets, contains red pepper, because capsaicin, which gives the hot flavor, is tasted by mammals like squirrels, but not by birds.
That's clever.
Yeah, which is actually the point of capsaicin in a pepper. It wants to be eaten by birds and its seeds spread around, but it doesn't want to be eaten by mammals. So we kind of co-opted that natural defense mechanisms to make it unappetizing for squirrels.
You know, when you first hung that, we saw a couple of squirrels trying to get a meal there.
Yep.
Do they still try, or do you think they've learned?
Every once in a while they check to see if maybe something's changed, but but they've, for the most part, stayed away from it.
Okay.
All right, let's see. And here's a picture of a ruby-throated hummingbird that
that's a very nice shot.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful bird and a really good shot of it.
You know, I hear how vicious they are, but they're just so adorable.
Yeah. They can be aggressive towards each other, but they are beautiful birds. And you can kind of see each of the short iridescent scales that make up that ruby throat, and by scales.
Yeah. That's a great shot.
Yeah, that's a really good one. And here's a white-breasted nuthatch, which has also been coming by the suet log. And they're much better adapted to clinging onto a log like this. And you can see them, they'll go down, they'll go up, they'll go sideways. They don't really care about their orientation. So it's pretty neat to watch them move around.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just going to say, woodpeckers are like that too.
Yeah. Woodpeckers are pretty neat in terms of the orientations. They'll hang on a log. I've seen like large horizontal limbs of a tree. They'll just move around to the bottom of it and cling upside down. They don't mind. It's pretty awesome. But woodpeckers are really interesting in that they also have strong adaptations for, once they've drilled a hole in a tree, getting the insects out. They actually have really long tongues that they stick deep into the insect nests and are able to capture insects like an anteater does. Which is pretty awesome. And when those tongues are retracted, they actually curl all the way around the skull and provide some shock absorption for while they're actually banging on the tree, so that they don't rattle their own brains doing that.
Wow. Truly crazy.
Yeah, they're crazy.
There's something unnerving about the thought of your tongue wrapping around the back of your
Yeah, it is a little weird. I've often wondered like what that feels like. And then I'd like to show a couple of my Uncle Roy's pictures that he sent in.
Okay.
He's
a great photographer.
Yeah,
and he goes everywhere.
His pictures are really good. This is a female Baltimore Oriole that he got outside his house in Webster, also eating an orange slice.
Yeah.
And you can see they're kind of like they're more yellowish, and that yellowish sort of expands onto the black more than it does on the males. And you can get a good comparison with this next picture, which is a male Baltimore Oriole sitting in a tree.
Sitting in a tree with what? What is that? Looks like Spanish moss almost.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It was in Webster, so it's something
Wow.
you can find around here. But there it is.
Oh, it's so vibrant. It's beautiful.
I know. Those birds are amazing to see. They're like little flying oranges. And these are some ducklings that he caught walking across his yard.
How fun.
That is so cute.
Yeah, ducks are funny like that. These are mallards, but an interesting fact about wood ducks, which we also have around here, they nest in cavities high in trees, typically dug by a pileated woodpecker and abandoned. And in the first, I believe it's the first couple days of the duckling's life, the mother goes to the ground and quacks at them encouragingly, and they leap right out of the tree. People say they bounce like tennis balls when they hit the ground, but they're unharmed, and they walk to the nearest body of water and begin their lives as ducks.
Wow. I love the yellow faces.
Yeah, isn't that cute?
Ducklings are truly some of the cutest.
Yeah. And then these are purple finches, despite the fact that they're not actually purple. The left one is the male, and the right one is the female.
I've always wondered why they're called purple finches.
I'm not actually sure. Maybe
it's kind of purpley.
Yeah. Maybe a colorblind
More
scientist
maroon.
didn't really
You know, they are cute, but coming after a Baltimore Oriole, you know, maybe we should have put that picture first.
Yeah. All right. Maybe this is a little more impressive.
Wow.
The red-tailed hawk. And those are some majestic looking birds when they're not being chased away by something tiny. And here's a very close-up view of a ruby-tailed hummingbird. Yeah, they are astoundingly beautiful little guys. And if you
now, is there a pattern in the red, or is that just a shadow from his beak?
That's the shadow from his beak. The red is an iridescent color, so the exact color you're seeing is going to depend on the angle you're looking at it from, which creates sort of a shifting color effect.
Oh,
which is pretty neat. You can see that on a lot of hummingbirds and a number of butterflies too.
It's really interesting. Doesn't it look scaly, like his head?
Yeah, it does. Mm-hmm. Feathers evolutionarily are modified scales. So I guess that's kind of getting back to its roots.
Well, you know, really good if I knew that.
Well, you know, it's actually interesting. In the last couple of years, evolutionary scientists have actually basically decided that birds are actually grouped within the group of reptiles now.
Really?
Because they are just dinosaurs, and crocodilians, alligators and crocodiles, are more closely related to birds than they are to snakes and lizards.
Wow.
So they're all just considered one big group now.
Wow, that's interesting.
I mean, that's a very diverse group.
Yeah.
From a hummingbird to a crocodile.
Yeah, it's surprising.
Well, it gets really crazy when you look at like something like a stegosaurus and then another dinosaur like a penguin.
Exactly.
Yeah, even within the birds, there's a lot of really interesting adaptations, some of which is parallel and some of which is not so parallel. For example, falcons are more closely related to parrots than they are to hawks or eagles.
Really?
Yeah, oddly enough, they're just two groups that have really
that's amazing.
Evolved in the same direction. Yeah, they're also more closely related to woodpeckers than they are.
And we don't think that there's something wrong with the classification system.
No, in this case, it's they're tracing the DNA of the animals.
It's the only way to do it.
Yep.
Okay.
And this is a picture of a starling from Roy, which starlings actually are native to Europe, but an eccentric millionaire in the 19th century wanted to introduce every bird mentioned by Shakespeare into the New World. Not all of which really caught on, but starlings did, and they're still around here.
Wow.
They're surprisingly intelligent, and they actually can learn to speak a few words. I knew one that would say Ruby because it was housed next to a turtle named Ruby for some time.
Wow.
You would go up and the starling would fly to the front of its cage and say, Ruby, Ruby.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and then these are swans, which you can see in New England at all times of year, but they are really beautiful with those black masks.
You know, I heard your mom, Andrew, telling you about the swans she saw. Where did she see them today?
Yeah, she said she saw 2 swans and 4 cygnets swimming around. So this is the time for baby swans and baby ducks and seeing all that stuff. I might have to take a ride myself to see these little guys.
Yeah.
And then Roy also sent us 4 pictures of international birds that he's taken on vacation.
wow.
This is a fantail in New Zealand, which is an adorable little bird. It's like a little sphere with a big tail.
Like a tennis ball. Wow. What's that called again?
A fantail.
Oh. Distracting from the tennis ball shape of the bird itself.
It looks more like a birdie used in
badminton.
Badminton. Thank you.
Yeah, I could absolutely see that.
Maybe those were the original ones.
Yeah, maybe.
And this is a frigate bird taken in Panama, and those are large seabirds, which are pretty striking, as you can see.
Yeah.
And also here's a little blue heron from St. Croix, which doesn't look as much like the great blue heron as you might have expected, but it is little, it is blue, it is a heron. And there are a lot of neat herons that even live around this area that you don't see that much, because you mainly just see the great blue ones. But night herons are a type of nocturnal heron.
Didn't you see a heron at Wasika?
Yep. Yeah, that was a great blue heron.
Okay.
Yep. So, and then the final one that he sent us is a Venezuelan tropial. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's this kind of striking orange and black and white and blue bird.
That's quite a bird.
Yeah, that's
a
neat animal.
Got a little Baltimore Oriole in them.
I know.
All right. That's some cool shots. So
yeah,
thanks for sharing those. And Roy, thank you for sending those along too. Yeah. And Matt, we're in the last 10 minutes of the show. Do you want to pull up some of John Ritz's that he shared with us?
I absolutely do, because these are truly incredible pictures that he's taken from town.
You know what? I had to keep telling myself, you know what? He must have been doing this for years, because
I know. Me too.
Really good collection of shots here.
Yeah. So, and he has a lot of them, and they're not just birds. He has all sorts of wildlife. So the first one here, and he's been kind enough to label most of these in the corner here. So this is a northern flicker.
Oh, those are beautiful birds.
Yep.
Now, Matt, click on the picture and then roll your mouse wheel, and you should zoom in.
Yeah.
There we go. Oh, yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Wow.
Yep.
That's a
you can see the
really
red spots behind there.
Pattern.
Yeah, those are really beautiful birds. They're some of my favorites.
Okay. Upper left is the back arrow.
Yeah, I thought I could. Yeah, there we go. Here's a gray squirrel.
Oh, cute.
Yeah, posing for the camera.
Yeah, they look cute now, but just wait till they're on your feeder.
Yeah. There's another picture that we'll get to in a minute. John just calls this picture a frog. I believe this is an American green frog, but I have difficulty. I'm pretty sure because of the black spots on the legs here.
Okay.
Frogs don't have that.
It's amazing.
I do know, however, it's a male, because the disc behind its eye, that's its eardrum. Females have much smaller.
You know what's beautiful about this picture is there's so much green in the pond, and the frog being the same shade of green really complements.
Yeah, it's really good framing.
And then I will zoom in on this, but this is some type of spider. I know it's an orb weaver because of the shape of its web, but I couldn't tell you what kind, because it's facing away from the camera. So.
Yeah, it's a beautiful web though.
Yeah. Next up, John has several pictures of butterflies on here, not all of which I was able to get an identification for. I believe this is a red-spotted Admiral butterfly.
Okay.
I don't know why it would be called red-spotted, because there's no red on it, but this was the closest identification I could find.
Just like a purple finch, same thing.
Yeah. I think they might have red spots on the undersides of their wings.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen a few butterflies that look like that, and they've got kind of the iridescent blue going on.
Yeah. Really cool looking butterfly with the blue and the black.
Yeah.
Here's a good picture of a garter snake.
Oh, nice.
Yep, very common around here, completely harmless.
Yep.
They might bite, but they're not venomous or anything.
And they're good for keeping rodent populations down.
Yep. Here's a butterfly. I could not find anything that resembled this butterfly on the Audubon website. So I don't know what kind it is, but it's really unique looking.
Yeah, I like it.
Yep. Here's an opossum up in a tree.
Oh, beautiful.
Yep.
I love those animals.
Yep.
Now,
you can see the eye glow from the
Is
light.
it an opossum or is it a possum? Because I never know.
It's an opossum.
Yep.
I can tell you that for sure.
Okay.
Possums, I believe, are a similar looking but genetically distinct family of animals that live in Australia.
Oh,
Yes.
and you sure that's not one of them?
Yes. The Virginia opossum is the only marsupial known to inhabit North America.
All right.
Yep.
Hey, Matt, we got
Yes.
about 3 minutes left, so we need to pick up the pace a little bit.
Yeah, that's fine.
got some
So
good
here's
shots
another
here.
garter snake. This is I believe this is an eastern comma butterfly. But don't
Okay.
necessarily
Neat.
quote me on that.
Wow.
I know for sure this is a swallowtail butterfly.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, those are beautiful.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it looks like he's seen some better days, but
Yeah, a damaged wing, unfortunately. Here's I want to say this is a ruby-throated hummingbird, but it
Yep,
doesn't have the ruby
female
throat.
ruby throat. Yep.
Yeah, female?
Females,
Okay, yeah. Here's a grasshopper that I also believe is missing one of its back legs.
Oh,
that does
yeah.
seem
It's a really good shot, though.
Yeah.
Here's I believe this is a Cooper's hawk. Yes, you can see
Oh,
it
yep.
in the corner there. Another butterfly that I couldn't identify, but is really cool. It might be a painted lady, but I'm not certain about that. Here's a family of turkey with 8 poults. That's what baby
Wow.
turkeys are called.
Those are
That's a
adorable.
big family.
Mhm.
They call that the extended family.
Oh, I've actually seen much bigger families than turkeys.
Really?
Mhm.
Yeah, they can have a lot of kids.
Yep. Here's a red-bellied woodpecker.
Oh, those are beautiful.
Yep.
Ooh, Andrew, I don't think we've seen one of those nearby.
Yep.
There is one I've seen in a tree nearby, but I haven't
okay.
seen it at the feeder. Oh, this is a great picture of a northern flicker that shows the yellow under its tail. They also have that bright yellow under their wings, so watching them fly is really amazing. Interestingly, in the western half of the U.S., that yellow is actually an orange color.
Oh,
really? That's interesting.
Yep, they're called gold shafted and orange shafted.
Oh, that's cool. Here's a downy woodpecker.
Oh, beautiful.
Here's a tufted titmouse, which is fun to say.
fluffed up people. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yep, this is a female cardinal.
Yeah. You know, the males are so striking, but the females with those orange beaks are so beautiful.
Yeah, they're great birds.
This is a bird I've never heard of called a junco.
Oh, yeah, a dark-eyed junco.
Yes.
They're nice. Yeah, you can see them in the winter. I don't know if they're here during the summer, but they are definitely here during the winter.
Yeah.
I forgot about
Here's
that.
a black-capped chickadee, very common. This is a nuthatch. This is a redpoll, kind of similar to the purple finch.
Yeah.
This is a sparrow. This is another nuthatch.
Yeah.
Here's a red squirrel, which one
cute.
of my favorites.
Yeah.
This is a mourning dove.
All puffed out.
Which you can see it like that.
Cold day, I guess.
Here's a male cardinal.
Oh, beautiful.
A great shot of an eastern bluebird.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
You can see the orange on its belly that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
This is a grackle,
Oh,
which
that's
I
a
see
great
all the
shot of a
time in my
grackle.
backyard.
Yeah,
A red-winged blackbird. You can really see the red and the yellow on this one.
Yeah.
This is that picture of a squirrel in flight, as John says.
Oh, yeah.
Going for the feeder.
I'm
Great
a flying
timing.
squirrel.
Yeah, this is an amazing
Oh,
picture.
how
Zoom
This
in
is the
on this
barred
one.
owl. This is the
Oh,
barred owl.
looks like
It looks like it's also an
a
owlet.
juvenile.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
that's an
Adorable.
amazing shot. You can tell because of the fluffy feathers.
Yeah, that's really good.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay, we got
we're
30
almost,
seconds, so a few more.
we're almost done. Rabbit, chipmunk, pileated woodpecker, really good.
Oh, nice.
Here's a fisher cat. You can see it there.
Oh, yeah. Those are hard to find.
Yep.
They're sneaky.
A great picture of 2 Cooper's hawks
Ooh.
battling on the street.
Wow.
I wish we could stay on this one more.
Yeah.
Here's a mouse, another pileated woodpecker, a hummingbird moth, which you can see why it's called that because of the it's moving. A couple deer, a quail, which I've never seen around here before.
Fascinating. Wow.
Yeah. a goldfinch, a Carolina wren, a red fox, some more turkeys, the same turkeys, and a timber rattlesnake.
Oh wow!
And I need to get to that one.
You took up all our
Yeah.
time. Hey, thank you so much for being here, Andrew. We'll have you back.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Amazing stuff right in our own backyards.
Absolutely.
Folks, thanks for watching, and see you next week on the Hangout Hour.
All right, and thank you for everyone who submitted pictures.
Yes, thank you so much. Bye.